you've said of the subsequent process that you got caught up in, if I had to choose between reliving the rape or the grand jury testimony, which you later had to give, I would choose the rape.
Well, right, the rape was 10 minutes. The grand jury testimony was all day. It involved my mother, my sister, my boyfriend, my whole family. So it was, and that was just one day of weeks of what I had to go through.
And then, of course, the years as well, I suppose, the effect on your family over the years.
Yes, I think it affected my family even more than it affected me. But, you know, it was quiet for quite a long time after that.
Right. You did say then that if you, later when you were asked about it, if you had a daughter who was raped at 13, you almost questioned whether you would call the police, would you?
I mean, probably, but it would, probably, but I might think about that carefully after my own experience.
Because of what happened afterwards?
Because I wouldn't want to make it worse than just being raped. I wouldn't want to, like, for me, it made it 100 times worse. So I would hesitate and think carefully.
When you look back, what were some of the worst? You mentioned the grand jury testimony, but also this sense, you talk of this sense of what people expected of you. And almost they wanted, there was a sense of disappointment. If only he had hurt me worse in more obvious ways, everything would be better.
It was strange and awful in a lot of ways. I mean, it started immediately that night. It's police, the hospital, the police station, next morning the district attorney's office. Then the fact that everyone thought I was lying on top of that. And then in the trying to prove he did it, it was like if I could just, if there was more proof, if I was more damaged, then we could prove I wasn't lying. So it was a strange thing.
And these were people, of course, who were on your side.
Right, and that came up after time, but, you know, they're on my side, yet wanting to prove something bad happened to me. So it was just really confusing. I was shortly 14. And it was just really confusing to have to go through all that and be forced to do so many things. And I was just so angry about all of it.
Did you feel as if they didn't care that you were hurt, that you were hurt as you were, that you just weren't hurt in the right way?
I didn't think I was hurt. I was just wondering why everybody was continuing to hurt me as some kind of requirement for what I'd already been through.
So the consequences of the rape really, they haven't...
It was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. I mean, phone rang off the hook. We couldn't leave the house. Everyone was calling me a liar. I mean, it was, and it started the next day. It was awful.
And some of the things that were coming at you, it was presumed that you had asked for it.
It was presumed that I was lying, that I asked for it, that my mother had sold me to him. I mean, every awful thing you could presume was presumed about me and my mother and my family.
And the judge in the case said, what are we dealing with here? What have we got? A mother-daughter hooker team.
Right. The judge said that in the courtroom. So that's what my life was like.
You also talk about the fact that you weren't the kind of victim that people wanted. You didn't behave in the way that they wanted.
That's more later than at the time. I mean, at the time, I was a really angry young girl. So I'm sure I wasn't behaving the way people wanted me to then. But later, people want you to be interesting and damaged and traumatized, and they'd like to exaggerate what happened to you to make it more interesting. So I don't cooperate with that because that's just not who I am. So it's like a disappointment for everyone that I'm fine and I got over it.